In a day and age when things are becoming obsolete every single day, I'm going to talk to you about something that was written more than 2,300 years ago, and it is still contributing to human race. The author of what has been written 2,300 years ago is none other than Chanakya. Born 300 years prior to Christ, Chanakya, a professor at Takshashila University and a chief advisor to the Mauryan emperor, has written Chanakya Neeti, which is practical nuggets of knowledge and wisdom that are still relevant and are contributing to human success. Now, in Chanakya Neeti, Chanakya talks about two things, two of the very important things that I'm going to talk to you about today. The first up is the Saptangas, and the second is the Upayas. Now, Saptangas, what does Saptanga mean? Sapt means seven, and Anga are limbs, which means put together they are seven limbs. Now, if you were to look at these in the context of the kingdom, they are seven pillars of the kingdom. And translated to your life, these are seven aspects of your life. So what are these seven aspects? Before I get into the seven aspects, what I want to let you know is the fact that while some of these words might refer to masculine gender, these in today's world are gender agnostic. It can belong to any gender. So the first up, the first Anga is Swami, who is the ruler. The second is Amatya, the advisor, the minister. The third is Janapada, who are the subjects of that kingdom. The fourth is Durga, which is the fortress. In today's parlance, if you were to look at it, this is the space that provides us safety and security. The fifth is Kosha, treasury. The sixth is Danda, which is nothing but the army in that parlance. But today, if you were to look at it, these are the set of individuals who are working for us. And the seventh up is Mitra, none other than our friends and allies. Along with these Saptangas, he also talked about four Upayas. An Upaya is nothing but an idea or an approach. That is how one should look at it. So the four Upayas that Chanakya refers to are Sam. Sam means the ability to have a conversation, a discussion to solve a problem. Dan, which talks about our ability to give up something to arrive at the solution. Then the third Upaya is the Bheda. A lot of people look at Bheda as divide and rule, but the way I would call it is to differentiate and solve the problem in smaller pockets. And the fourth one is Danda, which is nothing but pure force. As I'm talking to these, I'm reminded of an instance that happened in my childhood. When I was in grade 11, I was shifting the schools. And I being a last bencher, I went on to sit on the last bench on day 1 in grade 11. The good thing is, there were two classmates with me, and the three of us ensured that none of us go lonely on any single day. And the beauty of backbenchers, I'm sure most of you would know, is that they have a common agenda. And in that agenda, the last thing that will be there is to focus on teacher and the studies. Other than that, everything else is priority. That is their last priority. And we are no different. We were not focusing on what the teacher was saying. We were just having a ride of a time. In no less than a few days, the teacher got tired of us and threw us out of the class. She thought that this punishment is going to straighten us up. But the fact is, we loved it. Because that is what we wanted. So, outside the class, we were having more fun than inside the class. So she really got annoyed. What she did was, she ran out of ideas. She went to the principal. And she complained to the principal that these guys are not my cup of tea. Handle this. So the principal got this. As we were walking in, we were anticipating that the principal would give us a lot more punishment or a different type of punishment. But when we walked there, the principal started asking us, okay, what are your extracurricular interests? What are your hobbies? We were a little surprised, but we went with the flow. As we ended the conversation, she said, I want you guys to pick up this interest. And she gave us one interest each and said, start an activity club in your school and engage other classmates with similar interests. So what happened was, when we came back, we were all excited. What I started doing is, we started finding out those students who had similar interests. We started mingling with other students. And a result of that was our noise levels came down. Now, what has this got to do with the Saptanga or Upayas? How did the Upaya that the teacher used backfired while what the principal did worked? Let me talk a bit more in detail. In the context of the class, we students were the Janapada, who were the subjects of that kingdom. And the teacher was the ruler, the Swami. What she did was what came naturally to her, which is the use of force, and she threw us out. What happened? It backfired. When we went to the principal is the Swami of the institution. From an institution standpoint, the principal is the Swami. So what she did was, she understood us individually and gave us what interests us. So what she did, the upayas that she used were Bheda and Danda. That worked. So the lesson that one has to learn from this is, when we are dealing with any situation, we need to look at it from the recipient standpoint and not from our standpoint. So this is where the biggest differentiator was, and the principal was successful and the teacher was not. So when we are dealing with Janapada, the two go-to upayas are Bheda and Danda. Similarly, if you were to look at the first of the Saptangas, which is Swami. Swami typically, as we have seen in the previous story, was they naturally come with a lot of force. They have Danda as their power. If you use Danda against them, it will backfire because it will rub out their egos. So we really need to use Sam and Danda as the upayas, which is negotiating and giving them what they are looking for, while not compromising on our objective. So that works well with a Swami. When you are working with an Amartya is a powerhouse of knowledge and wisdom. So these people are wise enough to understand the perils of a Danda. So we don't have to really go to Danda with them. You can just still stick with Sam and Danda upayas. On the same lines, we have talked about Janapada, which is the third of the Saptangas. Coming to the fourth one, which is Durga. The people who are the custodians of Durga, their primary objective is to protect and safeguard. Now, with them, a Sam Upaya will work brilliantly well. Along with that, if you can subtly use Danda and talk about the perils of not following and falling into the trap of a war, will work brilliantly well. Remember, it should be very subtly used and not as a threat. The fifth one is Kosha. If you look at the treasurer, the treasury people who are handling the treasury, their focus is solely on safeguarding the money and growing it. So there, Danda will work brilliantly well. And talking about the losses that might occur in terms of Danda will work amazingly well. So Danda and Danda will go very well with the Kosh. The sixth of the one, which is the Danda, Now, the people who are in this, if you were to look at it from today's parlance, these are your team members who are toiling in for you day in and day out. In those days, these are the army who are always prepared for war. They know the value of peace. So never ever use gun with them. Use Sam and Dan with them because they know the value of peace. They can easily understand what you're talking about. The last of the Saptangas is the Mitra, who are none other than your friends. Your friends, your allies, they know you well. You don't have to threaten them, you don't have to divide them. A simple Sam and Dan will typically work with you. While we are approaching this framework, a couple of things that we need to keep in mind are, the first one is, any approach is, you cannot blindly follow it 100%. Look at the situations and act accordingly. Be nimble enough to play around with the Upayas, depending on which of the Saptangas you're dealing with. The second one is, remember, while you're talking about 7 pillars and limbs, at the end of the day, you're talking about human beings. So we always need to see who the people are, what role they are playing, and accordingly tweak ourselves to ensure that they are happy with what we are doing. So that is the second thing that we need to look at. And the third and the most important thing is, never use these in a manipulative manner, because that is going to backfire and the relationship will be broken. So when you look at the people, when you look at the role that they are playing, when you ensure that they are getting what they are wanting without compromising on the overall objective, and you use Saptangas and the Upayas, you're going to influence them very well, and you're going to build lasting relationships, which will in turn lead to your success. So wishing you all the success. Thank you very much.